Hello and welcome to the channel. Today we will be taking a look at a 2006 horror/comedy movie titled Slither. The movie begins with a town named Wheelsy. The people of the town were living happily. One night a flaming meteorite crashes in the forest and a parasite-like object emerges out of it. Scene shift and we see Matt Grant and his wife named Starla. The couple were happy with their relationship, and everything was going well, but one night Matt and Starla starts to argue, due to which Matt leaves the house. The then goes to a bar, where he meet a girl named Brenda. Together they get drunk, and head towards the forest. Brenda tries to kiss Matt but he reminds her that he has a wife. They then find an extraterrestrial parasite. Out of curiosity Matt tries to find what the thing is. He touches the parasite and the egg releases an alien parasite which enters into Matt's chest. Max was feeling intense pain. Seeing Matt suffer, Brenda gets scared. The parasite then enters his brain, and suddenly Grant wakes up, and was observing his surroundings strangely. Later they both go to their house. Next morning, Starla apologizes to Matt for yesterday. Scene shift and we see Matt. He visits the butcher shop, and buys a lot of meat. At home Matt behaves weirdly. He kills his own dog. He then locks the basement. Starla asks him why he did so, to which Matt replies that he is planning a birthday party for her. Now the parasite had taken control over his body. Grant, his body starts to change. Later two tentacles appears from his chest. Matt then goes to the bathroom, where we see Starla was bathing. Matt was looking fiercely at her, as if he would attack her. When he was about to open the door Starla looks back, and Matt stops himself. Starla asks him what he was doing here, to which Matt replies that he has some office work to do, and will be back soon. Scene shift and we see Grant visits Brenda's house. Brenda gets surprised to see Matt, because she thought Matt died. Bren tells her that her husband was out of town. On hearing that Matt gets excited and enters the house. When Matt opens his shirt, Brenda gets shocked to see the tentacle coming from his shirt. She tries to run away, but Matt inserts the tentacles to her body. Due to the pain her body starts shaking. Matt's condition was deteriorating. Scene shift to Starla. She was upset because Matt didn't came to the party. She comes home and find Matt's face swollen, so she asks Matt about what had happened to him, to which Matt replies that it was due to allergic reaction to a bee sting. So Starla tells him to go see a doctor, but he rejects by saying a doctor has already given him medicines for it. Next day Starla calls the doctor to ask about what had happened to Matt, but the doctor says that he hasn't Matt since 1 year. Starla grows suspicious towards Matt. In the next scene we see the town's cats and dogs were disappearing. Later we see Matt arrives in an isolated barn. It is then revealed that Matt had hid Brenda in the barn, and used to feed her raw meat and dead animals. Meanwhile police arrives at Matt's house. They ask Starla about Matt, to which Starla says that Matt hasn't returned from the office. The police officer tells her about Brenda being missing, and Matt was the last person seen at her house. The police's officers tell Starla to call them when Matt returns. Starla then breaks the door, and enters basement, and she finds dead animals, and realizes that Matt was the person behind the disappearance of dogs and cats in the towns. Starla gets scared on seeing that and calls the police, but suddenly Matt comes in front of her. She tries to run away, but Matt gets hold of her. Matt says that she betrayed him, and tries to insert the tentacles inside her. But Starla retaliates and hits him. Matt tries to choke her, but police arrives and Matt escapes. Scene shifts to 3 days later. The town mayor Jack McCready. They try to solve the matter, and also finds that Matt was behind the disappearance of the animals. Suddenly they receive a phone call, and informs them about the killing of the animals in the barn. On visiting the barn, they find that animals had been brutally murdered. Police Chief Bill Pardy observe a pattern at which Matt was killing the animals. Through their investigation, they come to know about the house which will be Matt's next prey, so they set out traps to hunt Matt, and at night they wait for Matt to come, and as they assumed Matt comes to hunt animals, now Matt was looking like a monster. Everyone was shocked to see Matt, and before their very eyes he kills a cow. And when he was about to flee, Starla, scared, tries to make Matt remember about who he is, and tells that it's all just a disease and he will be fine, and they are here to rescue him and take him to the hospital. Starla tells him to come with her, but he ignores her and walks away. But suddenly a man point gun at Matt. Matt attacks him and cuts him in half. on seeing that the officers starts to open fire at Matt, but Matt runs away. They starts to chase him and reaches the same barn, where Matt had kept Brenda, but they get shocked to see Brenda. She had become massively obese to the point of inflating into a sphere of flesh as baby alien slugs grow inside her. She begs them to feed her. After a while she completely explodes, releasing hundreds of the alien slugs. Most of police officers are infected by the slugs entering their body through their mouth. Bill and Starla closes their mouth, and thus are unaffected by the slug. The slug starts to spread throughout the town. Scene shift and we see girl named Kylie. The slug tries to enter to her body, through her mouth, but she pulls it out of her mouth. During the time she gets a vision, she finds that the alien slugs moves from planet to planet, eating or absorbing all life it finds there. The parasite's consciousness, however, is influenced by the real Grant's memories and his love for his wife. Kylie kills the slug, and runs for help to her parents, but finds that her parent as well as her sister were all being infected by the slugs. The slugs tries to infect Kylie. She hides in a cars. Meanwhile Billy goes towards the town to get help. The officers who were infected by the slugs gets up and they were in control of Matt. They start to speak in Grant. The officers says you can't do this and comes to attack her. But Starla shoots him, and runs away with Mayor Jack McCready. Scene shift to Kylie. Her whole family been infected, and were trying to attack her, but Billy arrives there and saves her. The two then go to rescue Jack and Starla. Billy calls the station and informs Shelby about the slugs, but suddenly the slugs attacks her, and Matt takes her control. He tells Billy that he got a surprise for him, and suddenly a car hits their car, and infected people take Starla and Jack McCready with them, but Billy and Kylie manages to run away and hide. Billy makes a plan to kill Matt, because Kylie had told him, killing Matt may destroy all the slugs. He then goes to the police station to collect Grenade, but in the police station a zombie dog attacks him, but Kylie comes to the rescue, saves Billy and kills the dog, and they then head for Matt's house. Scene shift to Starla. She was unconscious, but the infected people weren't harming her and were doing her makeup. Meanwhile Jack awakens in the house's basement, where several of the infected are eating. He tries to escape but becomes infected as well. Kylie and Billy find that the infected are melding into one giant creature. When Starla awakes she finds herself in her house and all the infected people were taking her name and asking her to come down the stairs. Starla takes a pointed needle and hides in her underwear and goes down the stairs. She finds Matt, who had now turned into a giant monster, with infected people inside of him. He tells Starla how she deceived her, and now he will kill her, but Starla observes the pictures Matt had hanged in the walls and realizes he still have feelings for her. Starla charms the monster by calling him Grant and telling him they can be together, but as they get close to each other, she pulls a needle from her underwear and stabs him in the chest. He slaps her with a tentacle and knocks her across the room. Kylie and Bill also arrives there. Jack begs them to kill him, so Bill kills him. He tries to kill the monster with a grenade, but another tentacle knocks the grenade into the pool, where it detonates. Grant sends two tentacles to stab Bill and infect him. One is lodged in his abdomen, but Bill attaches the other to a small propane tank, filling Grant with gas, and Starla shoots the monster, causing it to explode, whereupon all the infected die. The three survivors walk away to find a hospital for Bill. In the post-credit scene, we see Scat approaches to feed off Grant's remains and is infected. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you liked the explanation.